Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of The Toy Shelf. I'm your host Mitch Live, and I collect... Oops, I forgot my figures. 1 second. There, that's better. I'm your host Mitch Live, and I collect action figures. And once in a while, I play video games. If you've been watching for a while, you may remember back in Season 1, I said something along the lines of, in fact, I pretty much beat the same 3 video games over and over and over again, and one of those video games is Nintendo 64's The Ocarina of Time. And then during the Season 2 premiere, I went on to say, so that was a bit of a lie. I mean, I played a lot of video games growing up, but there were definitely 3 video games that I've played more than all the other video games. One of those games was obviously The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and another one of those games was Super Mario Bros. 3. And in case you haven't guessed where I'm going with this, today we're going to be having a look at one of my favorite video game characters, Sonic the Hedgehog, and the final game in my trifecta of absolute favorite video games was, of course, Sonic 2 for Sega Genesis. Sega! And wouldn't you know it, all of my favorite video game figures are made by the same manufacturer, Jakks Pacific. Sonic was, of course, the mascot of the Sega Genesis console and was meant to rival Mario and Nintendo, but spoiler alert, they lost that console war. What makes Sonic 2 my favorite game is a few things. One, it was my first Sonic game, so I'm always just going to be biased towards this game. 2, it's the first game where Sonic does his classic spinball move, which of course, I thought he always did because it was my first game. 3, you could plug this cartridge into the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, and then you could play Sonic 2 as Knuckles. Knuckles was a new character and was sort of an anti-hero or rival to Sonic. He isn't as fast as Sonic, but he can glide through the air and climb up walls. This was a mind-blowing game changer for me back then. Every other game that features Knuckles has alternate courses, or alternate versions of the same course when you play as Knuckles. But you could pretty much explore every corner of every level in Sonic 2 because it was not originally made to include him and those abilities. And number 4, it was the introduction of the Super Saiyan. I mean, Super Sonic. Which, let's be honest, is just Sonic going Super Saiyan. I used to hate the 3D special levels in Sonic 2 because I sucked at them, and I never really got the point. And I had this game for years before I knew about Super Sonic, so when I finally unlocked that ability, my mind was blown all over again. That game just never stopped delivering surprise after surprise. And if you've never played Sonic 2 and this video should happen to inspire you to try it out, you have to play as Sonic alone or Tails alone, never both. He makes a terrible sidekick. He's always lagging behind or activating things before the right time, and forget the special stages with this clumsy fox. Unless you're playing with Sonic and Tails in one-player mode and you have a friend who plugs in the second controller and then they can control Tails, who has infinite lives. And that's just another really cool feature I didn't discover for a long, long while. But trust me, nobody really wants to be the second controller in player 1 mode. It kind of sucks. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's look at some toys. So these guys are still in their boxes. I'm going to have to just pop them out really quick. The 2 figures I have here are Sonic and Tails. Tails is a fox who gets his name from the fact that he was born with 2 tails. And he has the ability to spin his 2 tails around and float like a helicopter. And Tails here specifically, he stands 3 inches tall. And Sonic is more like 3.5, almost 4 inches tall. So I was really hoping that Tails would actually have 2 kind of independently moving tails. They do spin around like a helicopter would, but they're both pointed in the same direction. This is a little disappointing. There are a few other notable characters that are available from this toy line, including Knuckles the Echidna, who I love just as much as Sonic and will surely be the next piece I get for this collection. There's also Shadow the Black Hedgehog, who is also sort of a villain anti-hero, who is apparently much faster than Sonic. And of course, for pretty much every figure in this toy line, there's an alternate version. Damn you alternate versions! In some later Sonic games, Sonic was redesigned to have taller, skinnier legs and just the tiniest little torso you've ever seen, but this one I have here is called Classic Sonic. They did go back to this character design in the most recent Sonic Mania game, which was like a throwback to the classic Sonic look and gameplay, which I was all for. Each of these figures come with an accessory. I've seen some alternate versions where the only difference you could see was the item, and there are a few items you can get. These guys come with, Tails has the Super Speed Boost, and Sonic comes with a classic springboard. Interestingly enough, this was not the first Sonic figure that I purchased. The very first one I purchased was loose in a bin at some toy store with a broken off nose, but at the time it was like the closest thing to classic Sonic, and I mean, here, just look how incredibly similar they are. Oh, wait a minute. This means we get to do a Who Did It Best. Today, it's a showdown between Classic Sonic from Jakks Pacific Toys versus Classic Sonic from not Jakks Pacific Toys, from a little manufacturer called Jazzwares Incorporated. Round 1. Fight. Okay, so here we've got two very similarly looking Sonic figures, and let's note some of the differences. This Sonic has a slightly smaller head and is like a hair shorter, but pretty much the shape and size of them are almost identical. The color is a little lighter and I think a little more classic Sega blue in this particular figure. Other than the color, you can notice there's a line right here in his midsection, which you can see is one of his points of articulation for the Jazzware figure. And other than that, he's got no knee joints, but he does have some hip joints. And this figure has both elbow and shoulder joints, as well as wrist joints. And a 360-degree spin on his head. Those are pretty much all of his points of articulation. This Sonic does feature knee joints, whereas this one doesn't. But this Sonic doesn't feature elbow joints, whereas this one does. And also, he does not spin right in the middle like this other guy does. Another thing you can notice, if you look at him from the side, the skin on his face is like, it's sitting up higher than the rest of it. Kind of like it was clearly glued on after. It makes it look like he's wearing a face-shaped mask, more like than it's his actual face. Whereas this figure, it's absolutely flush with the rest of his skin and makes more sense. Of course, I did notice that I got this guy loose with a broken nose, so one Sonic has a nose and one Sonic doesn't. Their shoes are pretty much the same. I mean, this one, a little faded, a little more wear and tear. Like, these are actually really close figures. So close that I almost can't believe that these are completely different figures, but they are. And if I have to give it to one, I'm gonna give it to Jakks Pacific. Overall, I really like these figures, and I love that they're the same scale as all of my other favorite video game characters, Zelda and Mario. The likeness is bang on, as you would expect for any animated 3D character. They're gonna make a great addition to the collection. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on the toy shelf, and remember, you're never too old to play with toys. Sega!